please join me in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got an echo.
I know we do.
Echo. Sounds like Radio Gallo. Testing. All right. Thank you very much. We will now open call to the public. Call to the public is held for public benefit to allow individuals to address issues within the board's jurisdiction. Board members may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to Arizona Revised Statute, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to criticism, or scheduling a matter for further discussion decision at a future date. Public comments may be made in person or submitted by email at publiccomment@yumacountyaz.gov. The email forms of public comment will be accepted until 8 a.m. the morning of the meeting. All public comments will be read aloud during the Yuma County Board of Supervisors meeting starts at 9 a.m. Do we have a comment?
Yes, we do. From Miss Gail Castricone. Good morning. My name is Gail Castricone. I am the neighborhood advocate for the Avenue B and C Butterfly Project. Our community partnered with the Hope Center Church to do a food drive at the Spring Garden Trailer Park on A Street and Palm Avenue. We passed out 24 food boxes and 24 sand buckets filled with goodies in them for the children. It was a joy and an honor to serve the community. This is just one of the ways that our community reaches out to help their neighbors. What we cannot do is law enforcement and code enforcement. We are totally reliant on Yuma County for their services to keep our neighborhoods neat and clean. We have a long history with slumlords and vacant lot owners that continue to be in violation of the codes, even after being turned in. This has been a vicious cycle for many years, causing more fires and crimes. The banned trailer park has no other description but hideous. Instead of coming into compliance after going before the hearing officer of August 2022, the park has continued to decline. It leaves behind shattered lives and continues to be dangerous and an embarrassing part of the B&C Colonia. Good neighbors have moved out of the area because of the banned trailer park. The trash trailers and debris are still there. No consequences equals no progress. There are several trailer parks that have code violations, and if not properly addressed, we will have another banned park situation on our hands, and no one wants that to happen again. We invite different county staff and nonprofits every month to keep us informed of how to move forward with improvements for our neighborhood. Frank Sanchez and Frank Gutierrez were our speakers for June. They did a great job with their presentation about the Main Canal walking path and the Ferguson Canal walking path. They also addressed our grave concerns about speeding cars on 5th Street, and they are helping with a solution. God bless America. It is still the greatest nation in the world. We all must remember that united we stand, but divided we fall. God bless you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any others or just that?
That one.
We do have two others that were submitted, one by email. Mr. Roosevelt, do you want to speak at item 9 or do you want to speak right now? It's up to you.
Hi, Ken.
My name is Ken Rosevear. I live at 4655 West Sundown Drive in Yuma. I understand the item has been pulled. Is that true? Item 9?
No, it will be pulled for separate discussion,
Okay.
but it's still on the agenda.
Okay. Should I wait till that time or?
Entirely up to you.
Okay. The reason for my attendance is in reading the Sun yesterday, I saw that the county is awarding a $365,000 contract to CrowdStrike Falcon for internet security. Well, CrowdStrike didn't wait for them to be compromised. They did it themselves.
Ian, can I stop you briefly? Ian, can we turn down the sound from that? We've got a 5-second delay, and so I get to hear everything Ken says twice. Not that it's not worthy of being said twice. Just distracting.
I have a 5-second delay too. they sent out through the exact same program, CrowdStrike Falcon, a software that was compromised. And it literally shut down the whole world. Banks and airlines, 911 services, hospitals. And my question is, I think it's time to step back and take a look at dealing with an organization that just pulled off one of the biggest cyber attacks in recent history
On themselves.
and award them with a $365,000 contract. I noticed this morning on the internet that all the competitors are on there saying, hey, our system couldn't have done that. So they're not a sole source vendor by any means. So
We appreciate that input.
I hope that you'll take into consideration this contract.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. William Katz, Western Sands Land Incorporated.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Would it be possible if I tracked the call to the public that I signed in for to the end of the calendar prior to the supervisors presenting? You normally keep call to the public open.
Sure. We are going to go into an executive session, so it might.
Can I go before that?
Sure.
I appreciate that. I also signed in for the MCAS AQs. I'm hopeful to be heard there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now go to presentations, proclamations, and appointments. Do we have any appointments? Mr. Reyes?
No.
Okay. We do have one proclamation. And we will go to Lynn.
Hi. Good morning. Proclaiming the week of July 21st through the 27th, 2024 as pretrial probation parole supervision week in Yuma County. Whereas community corrections is an essential part of the justice system, and whereas community corrections professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the rights of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity, and whereas community correction professionals are responsible for supervising adult and juvenile offenders in the community, and whereas community correction professionals are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for offenders, and whereas community corrections professionals work in partnership with community agencies and groups, and whereas community correction professionals provide service, support, and protection for victims and advocate communities and restorative justice, and whereas community corrections professionals are a true force for positive change in their communities. Now, therefore, the Yuma County Board of Supervisors proclaim the week of July 21st through the 27th, 2024 as pretrial probation parole supervision week in Yuma County.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to say anybody? Say
Yes.
anything? Anybody?
We appreciate your support always. Our mission continues to be to provide the best services that we can provide, always evidence-based practice, proven that the services that we provide to our families, to our youth, work to reduce recidivism.
Thank you for the recognition. I appreciate all the support that the board and all of the agencies that are in this room and throughout the county. We can't do it without you guys, and we appreciate the support. Thank you.
All right.
Let's go.
Take a picture? Come on,
Yeah.
guys. Got to memorialize it. Tony loves having his picture taken.
He's in
I
pretty blue
didn't
today.
give up my hairdresser this morning, so.
Hold on. Easy. You need to be in the middle of the proclamation. There you go.
There you go. One more this way, please. Set.
Yes, thanks for coming. Too big, no, we don't fit there.
All right, item number 2 from the great state of Maricopa, traveling far and wide. Actually, from the state of Arizona. He just happened to reside in the great state of Maricopa. We have Keith Watkins from the Arizona Commerce Authority. Thanks for coming, Keith. We have Sandeep Bhowmick, State Broadband Director, and Aaron Lorandos. And they're going to give us a PowerPoint presentation. So we'll turn the time over to you guys.
Short PowerPoint presentation. Oh, I'm surprised. When there's more than one giving a PowerPoint presentation.
Good morning, everyone.
Aaron, pronounce your name.
Oh, it's Lorandos.
Lorando. Oh, it's
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having us today. My name is Sandeep Bhowmick. I'm the State Broadband Director. The State Broadband Office is housed at Arizona Commerce Authority, and we are responsible for any broadband-related grant directly funded by a state legislator or directly funded by federal government. Currently responsible for distributing the $1 billion fund state received a couple of months ago from federal government. So we are going to every single county and presenting the progress here. So I'll give you a quick overview of what's happening and where we are in the process. So this is our team. It's a small but mighty team. We have a Deputy Director of Broadband and Digital Equity. We have Jamie Garrett, who oversees the infrastructure piece of it. Kelly Cruci, who's our wonderful engagement manager. Erin Lorandos, our Digital Equity Program Manager. And Crystal Seffers, who oversees the broadband map and GIS analysis. Let's talk about BEAD program. Currently our office is administering the $993 million Arizona Commerce Authority or State of Arizona received directly from federal government. This money came from IIJA, Infrastructure and Job Acts, which actually allocated $48 billion for 50 states and 6 U.S. territories. Based on the number of households here in Arizona, which does not have any reliable internet connectivity, we received this number. So back in 2022, FCC announced that Arizona has 260,000 households. We went through a challenge process and we ended up adding another 60,000 households on top of that. So initial allocation was close to $720 million. By adding another 60,000 households, we're able to change our funding or increase our funding to $993 million. So who are eligible for this funding? Only the households are eligible for this funding. The Community Anchor Institute, that includes libraries, hospitals, schools, public safety facilities, county building, any government building, wherever the population meets for information sharing are eligible for BEAD funding. And this funding is only allowed to spend in unserved and underserved area. That means if you live in a household which does not have an internet connectivity more than 100 Mbps download and 20 Mbps upload, your household is eligible. The best part about the BEAD funding is this is the first time in the history of our country BEAD funding was allocated based on the household, not in the census block level. Historically, what happened when a broadband fund was allocated on the census block level, ISPs tend to only take the household which are in close proximity and doesn't serve the household which is middle of nowhere. This time, when Arizona Commerce Authority is distributing this funding, if they are taking the household which is in close proximity, to get this funding, they also have to serve households which are far from the neighborhood. So this is a snapshot of where Yuma County currently is. So you can see city of Yuma area, which is highly populated and densely served by different ISP or internet service provider. You have at least one service provider here, and there is a new service provider coming. Our long-standing relationship we're very proud of, our partnership between us and Yuma County. In our last $100 million grant, which was received from Capital Funding Project / ARPA, we funded 2 projects here in Yuma County. One is the county-wide middle mile network, which was funded in partnership with Yuma County, which will pave the way to deploy the $1 billion. And the second one, the City of San Luis project, which is connecting currently 1,100 households with high-speed broadband fiber connectivity. So to give you a holistic timeline, in May 2022, we signed up for the BEAD funding. From last year, November to December, we submitted 3 things to federal government, and these are the milestones we have to meet before we deploy the BEAD funding. One is the 5-year action plan, then BEAD Volume 1, which talks about how we will distribute this BEAD funding and improving the map and the Community Anchor Institute, and BEAD Volume 2, which speaks how we will score the sub-grantee applications. We recently went through a challenge process. That means every single local government, nonprofits here in Arizona and ISPs in Arizona participated in the process. If there was any error, we fixed the map through this challenge process. And currently we're in a sub-grantee selection prep time. So we are currently meeting with the local governments, tribal government, as well as the ISPs, drawing the project area here in the state. One good thing here in Arizona that we will be drawing most of the project area in the county level. So Yuma County itself would be its own project area. And you as a local government will have ability to write a recommendation letter, which will assign 10 points towards their application, which is definitely a big task. There are some great partners here. So feel free to reach out to us when you are writing this recommendation letter if you need any help with that. The application window will open in mid-September to October. However, that depends on the BEAD Volume 2 approval. It's still pending under review by federal government, U.S. Department of Commerce. Without that approval, we won't be able to start the sub-grantee selection process. Again, just to give you a quick overview, we'll be building networks. If you are living in an unserved location, that means you have an old DSL connection, which cannot exceed 25 Mbps download and 3 Mbps upload. If you are living in a neighborhood where it is more than 25 by 3, but less than 100 by 20 Mbps upload and download speed, and all the Community Anchor Institute will be served with 1 gig symmetrical connectivity. Who are eligible to apply for BEAD funding? Private ISPs, that means internet service provider, nonprofits, communities, electric co-ops, local government, tribal government are eligible to apply for BEAD funding. It can be a partnership applicant. It can be a standalone application as well. Eligible Community Anchor Institute would be directly able to also partner up with the ISPs to apply for BEAD funding. We have a website and newsletter coming in every single month. So please feel free to scan the QR code and you can sign up for our newsletter. Having said that, I will hand it over to our Digital Equity Program Manager, Erin Laurendos.
Thank you so much for having us today. We really appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to the community for coming as well. I'm going to click through the next couple here. The Digital Equity Program is the other half of this infrastructure investment in the state. If you think about the infrastructure side as being the roads that we drive on, digital equity is driver's ed. It's having the skills, access to the resources, the technology that you need to fully engage in an online economy, participate in furthering your education, coming to your board of supervisor meetings online, things like that, that folks who haven't had access to the internet before, especially at home, really might need some help getting ready to go. Similar to the BEAD program, we went through a planning process and wrote the Digital Equity Plan for the state of Arizona, which is available on our website, which lays out the goals and objectives that we felt would best break down current barriers that our population experiences when it comes to digital equity. The next piece of the puzzle is a competitive grant program, which we're in the process of applying for right now as we speak. I am doing both things inside my head. We are anticipated to be allocated just over $16 million to basically implement the goals and objectives within the plan. The primary way we plan to do this is through subgrants to organizations and entities across the state who are already working in this space and might need to build capacity, or to new programs that are getting off the ground in some of our even less served areas. This is our timeline. We're anticipating a sub-grant process for that digital equity capacity grant within the state in the fall as well. Similar timeline to what we'll see for the BEAD side of things. And I'm not going to go super in depth here, but I would encourage you to take a look at both the full document of the Digital Equity Plan online and a number of pieces to this puzzle. I will just quickly go over some of our early implementation ideas. We want to support local planning efforts. We know that every county in Arizona is vastly different and experiences different barriers to digital equity. We recognize that within our plan, and we really want to make sure that anything that happens with this funding at the statewide level makes sense at the local level, so that coordination is going to be key. We also want to expand and leverage existing digital navigator programs and provide access for digital health navigators and telehealth resources as well. And last but definitely not least, we want to provide increased opportunities for general digital literacy upskilling, but that connects with the needs of the people that we are trying to serve. I'm going to go back 2 slides here just really quick. These are the groups that the federal government asked us to look at barriers that they're facing, but the important part is this right here. Nearly everyone in Arizona falls into one or more of these groups, and I guarantee you that your neighbors, if you don't, fall into one of these groups. So really, this is about helping everyone in Arizona at that local, organic level, all the way up through the state level. And I am going to skip through a couple of these. I just want to make sure we have time for questions. I know we are right up against our 10 minutes, so thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Stay up here for questions, or?
Yeah, any questions or comments? Ian, do you want to talk about our?
Sure, about our bead challenge
Yeah.
efforts. Sure, the county did apply for about 2,200 households for the bead challenge, and unfortunately, none of those was approved. There's something called RDOF, which I'll be hard pressed to tell you what that acronym would be, but I'm sure you would know. Which was a federal award given to Resound Network some time ago, and they have another 10 years to actually build with the funds that they got from the federal government. So we were not able to get BEAD funds because of those existing RDOF funds. We've applied for a waiver to challenge that situation, and we're waiting to see where that goes. We do have Mike Miller. He's the broadband practice manager for HDR, and he headed up our BEAD challenge, and he's on the phone. If Mike, I don't know if you can hear us, if you had any comments or questions you wanted to participate with.
Yeah, I can hear you. Thanks for having me on. No, I think we understood why the RDOF exclusion was in there. It's under contract to be built through another carrier. We just knew that working with PJ in the county that the waiver had been applied for, so we wanted to get those identified with the state. And Sandeep, we went back and forth with your team just to make sure, you know, we had the process right. We were waiting on the CostQuest data, and then there was an update to the CostQuest data, so we were able to manage that and get it submitted, but with the understanding that the waiver had been applied for. We didn't see any progress. The county hasn't in the last, since that grant was awarded. So they were, you know, just nervous that that may not get built. So they wanted to identify those 22 homes that were considered unserved. So that's why they were submitted. And just wanted, you know, really to get your feedback on the waiver. I know PJ's been working on this for a while. We provided the mapping support, and then what typically goes to the FCC as we've worked in other states, went to the ACA. It would have come back probably with the same, you know, exclusions for those 2,200 homes that had RDOF coverage. But just that's the reason why the waiver was applied for. We, working with the county, understood that there may be an issue with this carrier and their ability to serve those homes. So we wanted to make sure we called it out, identified it, and just had a conversation about it.
Any comments? Yeah.
That's a great question, Ian, and we talked about it before we submitting the challenge. So what is an issue here in Yuma County is an actually issue nationwide. So there is a fund funded by FCC. And BEAD funding is funded by U.S. Department of Commerce. We have been clearly told not to double dip on federal funding. So this funding was funded around 2019, 2020 timeframe by FCC. So Yuma County has a RDOF funding which is currently covering 2,200 households. Those households are also eligible for BEAD funding. At least that's how it looks based on the speed tier we have. We are not allowed to deploy BEAD funding there, and when the BEAD map comes out, you will most likely see that those areas are technically unserved, currently doesn't have any connectivity, but we are not allowed to spend our BEAD dollars. That's a decision made in the federal government level so that there is no overlap on broadband funding. The only way we can fund those areas before we open our procurement or sub-grantee selection process in October, if that particular ISP comes to us or goes to FCC directly, says that we are not interested serving this area anymore, in that case, we'll be able to slide that under the BEAD drug. However, a couple of months ago, we sent out a letter. The letter was signed on ACL letterhead signed by me, and we requested all these. There are total 3 RDOF winner here in Arizona, and we asked them for project area information, their financials, and all other related information, which are, in some sense, those are confidential, and they are able to send those to us, all 3 of them. We also are in constant communication with Federal Communication FCC, and as of today, our current guideline from federal government is we are not allowed to overbuild on top of the RDOF funding. The only reason we, as one of the few states, opened up the challenge or accepting challenge on the existing federal funding because we wanted to hear from our community. This creates a base for future waiver application. So the waiver will be applied by us. Currently, we are going through a financial and engineering analysis to divide the whole state into multiple project area. And every project area, if that's impacted by RDOF, we are planning to apply for a waiver. Having said that, I want to be very transparent and honest. There are 99% chance waiver will be rejected by NTIA. If that's the case, we'll definitely notify and communicate that with specific counties, towns, and cities. The federal guideline says, or FCC said, that if these companies who received the RDOF funding filed their report, quarterly report on right time, and they are counting that as that they are en route to build this network. They have until 2030 to build this network, and that's all the information we have. We will try our best to submitting this waiver and make our case that so that we can open up this area for BEAD funding. But unfortunately, the way current NOFO is written for both BEAD and RDOF, there is a very low chance that we'll get an approval unless that Resound network or any other carrier is coming out and saying that we are not going to build.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ian. Sandeep, thank you. Do we have any other questions or comments? All right, appreciate you making the long trek.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
you,
you
sir.
so much.
Thank you for coming.
We'll go to item number 3, El Condado Informado.
Bienvenidos al Condado Informado. El día de hoy vamos a estar platicando sobre el plan estratégico con Diana Gómez y nos va a explicar qué significa esto para nuestra comunidad. Diana, hola, ¿qué tal? Bienvenido al Condado Informado. ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, gracias.
Ok, entonces dinos, el plan estratégico es un plan nuevo, lo teníamos antes. ¿Esto qué significa para el Condado de Yuma?
Bueno, este plan estratégico es una nueva versión. Es como un guía que nos va a ayudar a mejorar nuestros servicios y responder de una manera que es más inclusiva para poder proveer los mejores servicios a la comunidad.
Muy bien, entonces ya teníamos uno de estos planes antes, pero esto es nuevo. Cuéntame un poquito de cuáles son esas novedades que le hemos incrementado a este plan.
Bueno, este plan es un documento vivo, que quiere decir que cada vez que tenemos una reunión y tenemos las voces de todos los departamentos, porque es importante ser inclusivos y tener las opiniones de todos los que dan servicios a la comunidad. Este documento tiene estrategias para tener una comunidad que es más segura, que tiene servicios que son más accesibles para la comunidad y que usa los recursos responsablemente.
Excelente, entonces lo que estamos haciendo, estamos buscando maneras de innovación para dar mejores servicios para nuestra comunidad. Ahora, también tengo entendido que va a incluir una nueva visión y una nueva misión. ¿Esto qué significa para nuestros residentes aquí en el condado?
El condado de Yuma quiere ser un líder en innovación. La visión es que tenemos una comunidad donde la gente tenga acceso a los servicios que tengamos los recursos necesarios para crecer económicamente, que tenemos los recursos para ser una comunidad que es saludable y que sea una comunidad segura.
Perfecto, entonces todo esto para tener y ofrecer los mejores servicios para nuestra comunidad. ¿Qué más va a implementar este nuevo plan estratégico para nosotros?
Bueno, este plan estratégico va a requerir que tengamos la colaboración de todos los departamentos y entre todos nosotros vamos a trabajar juntos, que es una parte muy importante del plan. Y mientras estos planes de acción, cada departamento va a tener un plan de acción. Y mientras estos planes sean actualizados, vamos a seguir creciendo y vamos a identificar nuevos planes.
Eso es lo primordial aquí, entender la necesidad de la comunidad y pues hacer el plan para ofrecer los mejores servicios.
Claro que
pues
sí.
Diana, muchas gracias por esta información tan importante, así es que ustedes ya saben, para más información lo tendremos en nuestro sitio de web que todavía no está disponible porque lo estamos finalizando, pero en el momento que esté finalizado lo pondremos para ahí para que lo mire usted. Y muchas gracias y nos vemos luego.
Adiós.
Thank you very much. We will now go to the consent calendar. The following items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. Do we have any items that would like to be pulled?
Number
Lynn?
9.
Okay, number 3. So would somebody make a motion on the rest?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve consent items 1 through 17, 18.
18?
18 with the exception of items 3 and 9.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go to item number 3. Tony?
Okay, item number 3, Gil isn't here, right? I don't see, is anybody here from the, well, maybe you can ask that question later. This is about the statute, the limitation, this is actually a resolution appointing Roberto Villegas as an official witness for the purpose of submitting the annual expenditure limitation. Now, the annual expenditure limitation is an issue that we're gonna have to deal with very soon because we're very close to hitting the top of that limitation. Now, what that means to me is that we'll get to a point where we'll have the fund.
Tony.
Oh, Gil's here. Well, we'll have the fund. Gil, the item number 3 is your appointment to this board, to this annual expenditure limitation, so you can put together the report for the annual expenditure limitation. My question to you is, how soon do we hit that? How soon do we hit the limitation?
Supervisor Reyes, this is for fiscal year 25. And if everything goes as planned, I don't think you're going to have a new CFO. But the requirement is, it's actually a requirement where we need to provide a name to the state office so they know who to contact in the event that there's going to be any issues. This is how the State Auditor General programs their expenditure limitation report. Mainly what we're doing right now, which is in compliance with the requirement is, we're going to provide my name because I'm currently the CFO.
Right, so it's just the name so that they can contact it.
Exactly. So usually the expenditure limitation report is not completed until the audit is done. And usually it takes us 6 months, 5 to 6 months to complete the audit. We'll be looking at January or December to have the numbers so we can submit the reports.
Okay, well, the question goes to how much time do we have before we have to ask for some sort of waiver from the limitations or some sort of.
If there's going to be a new name, when the new name is provided, then all we need to do is just update the name with the State Auditor General. So we're doing this so merely we're in compliance with the requirement.
Supervisor Reyes, are you asking more about what, we're close to that limit, when we're going to reach that limit? Is that what you're?
That was the question.
Okay, you're talking about the expense limitation.
This is your appointment to issue that, and it basically deals with 24-25. But we're getting close to the point that we're going to have to go out and ask for an expansion of that limitation or an extension of that limitation or an update on that limitation. Do you have any sense of when that would be?
Supervisor Reyes, yes, we're looking, we just finished our budget for fiscal year 24-25. As I was putting the preliminary report together before we submitted the forms to the state, I was finding a very difficult time, and I shared this with the BRT and the county administrator. For fiscal year 24-25, I think that's when we're going to have the real challenge, making sure that we stay within our expenditure limit.
I guess the answer is we're we're in trouble now.
Yeah, we're pretty much
close
there.
to-
Yes, Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, we're looking at options moving forward to
But that's
make
the
that
next step.
permanent.
That's the next kind of question. Look, we are hitting that pretty soon, if not even within this year. So we're gonna have to look at the options that will be made available to us, so there's a decision to be made relatively soon.
Nevertheless, I just want to make sure and clarify that even though when I was doing my reports, I was able to identify enough deductions and enough exclusions for us to stay within for fiscal year 24-25. I would be really concerned if things, well, it's the cost of living, things, we're spending more money. Well, it costs, in order for us to provide the service, it's costing us a lot more money. So fiscal year 25, 26, that for sure might be a problem. We're very fortunate with all the department heads here in Yuma County. We usually stay within our budget, and most of the time there are some revertments. Those revertments usually, or when they stay under budget, that's what help us to stay within our limit.
You attribute that directly to inflation then, Gil?
It's the inflation for sure. It's more expensive for us to provide the services that we're required to provide. And it's just the normal increase that we have on
Increases in all tax and access and probation officers' salaries and all those things that the legislature,
Yeah, my point of view is that the expenditure limitation is not keeping pace with the increase of the costs to provide services. And Yuma County is not the only one in this position.
Off the top of your head, how much has the legislature cost us to spend additionally next year?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm just questioning, I know there's a nexus to it, but if it's going to not influence your decision to make this resolution, I think you're kind of getting off the agenda a little bit.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we place it on the agenda for later discussion?
Yeah, place it on the agenda for a later time.
Thank you.
And the question is
We'll
connected
limit
to
our-
your appointment. Obviously, your appointment means that, to me, that the state would have a person that would talk to. And that would change if you appoint someone else later on. But what I'm getting at is, look, we need to start looking, that person or you, in this case, I think it's you right now, should start giving us the options that we're going to look at. That's connected to your position as a finance director and as the only one that reports the statute of limitations issues to the state. So my question was, okay, when do we need to start looking at those options? When do we need to start making decisions? I got my answer. My answer is we should do it as soon as possible. I keep bragging that this county is one of the best administered counties in the state. This is why, because we always try to be ahead of the curve, and I don't want the curve to catch up to us. This one is because of people like you who have the experience to be able to basically live within that limitation, but that's not necessarily the case all the time. There's going to be some time we need to make some decisions. So I hereby make a motion that we appoint Mr. Gil Villegas as the.
Would you like to adopt the resolution then?
Yeah, we'll adopt the
Okay.
resolution. Yes, sir.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Aye. Okay, well, there you go. All right, item number 9, Supervisor Pancrati.
I just would like some further explanation. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Cliff.
In
With the
light of-
concerns that Ken brought up earlier, yes.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the board, Jesus Cervantes, Deputy Chief Information Officer. So just to clarify, we're not seeking over $300,000 in renewal. It's actually 146, just to correct that number. But yes, we did suffer a incident, not a cyber incident, because there was no data loss. It was not security related. And there was also no data exfiltrated from our environment. So it was, I would attribute it to almost like a service outage. Like if Time Warner went down or your water went down, we were down for a few hours. Kind of to give the board an idea of how we were impacted. Our systems notified that we were having outages at around 10:30 p.m. on Thursday night. At that time, we started researching what was happening. We did jump on our Slack with the state. They were also experiencing items since they also use CrowdStrike. So were multiple other entities in the state. We did an analysis and kind of triage of our systems, and we started building our action plan. At 2:35 a.m., we developed our response to the incident so that come 8 a.m., we could have our team start deploying. At 6:29 a.m., Our north end storage, our data center, was fully back up. At 7 a.m., our south end storage environment is fully back up. And our storage environment actually houses our email, our applications that serve the public, and the majority of our department P&U drives. P&U drives being our data stores for day-to-day business. At 8:15 a.m., ITS did have our response meeting where we called in all our ITS managers to kind of formulate a proper response plan to the incident. At around 9 a.m., ITS personnel did visit all county departments and touched every single machine to make sure that they were up and running. By 12:13 p.m., all systems within the county were up and running with the exception of approximately 40 to 45 systems. Those we attribute to being rover machines, machines that are in people's drawers, closets, or are not on at the time. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they were impacted by the outage. But once again, we did respond immediately to the incident. It does show that we do plan for these types of events. And whether it was CrowdStrike or any other product that the county uses, there are issues that these products are prone to. We've used CrowdStrike for going on 3 years now, and this is the first time that we've had a major incident with them. But with that, I am open to questions that I can answer regarding either the incident itself or the renewal that's up.
It was reported that because of this incident, for example, in Maricopa, they had significant challenges with some of their voting machines. Were we compromised in any way?
No, voting machines do not actually touch or use CrowdStrike. They are completely segregated and separate from our environment. And the only systems within elections and recorders that use CrowdStrike are those that are the day-to-day machines, where you would, recorder staff would use the machines to look up voter registration data, but that's hosted online. So as far as the core elections equipment, that is never touched by CrowdStrike. It is completely segregated from all of our systems.
Do we have any remaining issues to resolve?
At this point, we have approximately 40 machines that are unaccounted for, but those are, once again, those that may be in a closet somewhere or not being used on a day-to-day basis. Typically, your backup machines that departments tend to have.
What's your confidence level in this company?
My confidence level, in my personal opinion, is high. They have not failed us outside of the incident they had last week. We've been using them for 3 years. I can say that they have actually been ahead of the game with a lot of the threats that have been actually stopped by their software. We do, from time to time, look at other products. I know CrowdStrike is coming up for that review. We tend to do reviews of our software every 4 to 5 years just to make sure that our software is up to par, that we are not getting comfortable with what we have. And
45 years? Every 45 years?
No, 4 to 5 years. No, not 45 years, no, 4 to 5 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. I heard it every 45 years, and I go like, okay.
I think all of us would be gone by then, but no, every 4 to 5 years we do a review of software. Yes, and that's for all ITS software.
I just want to make a point here. I think this will happen more often than most people like to think about it, and I think that it gives us an opportunity to see what we have as a backup system. And I think you guys did great, because by noon, I know you guys had, if not all the issues that pertain to serving the public, you had pretty close to fix up every problem that we had. That to me is incredibly, strikingly efficient, because when you got notice of this that night before, to the point that you fix it, it was like 10 hours, 12 hours. And that was to me really quick. That was a quick response to something that we need to, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I know people don't like to hear climate change, but when it's like climate change, the more we depend on this internet services, the more we're liable or vulnerable to something happening to one of them. And there's only 5 or 6 of these entities that I know of that can cause this kind of problem. I think it's not fortunate. You were prepared enough. You had the right people at the right place at the right time to deal with this. And I personally feel that goes to show just how strong that backup system is, because we've had problems before that couldn't be fixed out quickly. And I know you guys are kind of newbies to this, but there's been issues before that took us weeks, if not days, to fix. And to me, to see this happen over hours or tens of hours, and this is kind of a serious problem, it's been a lifesaver to me. And it's really, I think, a situation that goes back to show what I said a minute ago. I think Yuma County is one of the best prepared counties in the state. And it goes to show that the IT department is keeping up with this stuff, because this is not it's not an isolated incident. It will happen again because the more we rely on other people to do some things for us, the more we open up ourselves to this vulnerability. So congratulations on how you dealt with it. I don't think we get punished CrowdStrike for something that, from all the ways of looking at it, I mean, they were trying to stay ahead, and that's how they got into trouble. They were trying to do an upgrade, an update, and it didn't work out. But that's just something that happens with people who keep moving forward. And I think that's not, they shouldn't be punished for something that they try to do better. They should actually be, in some ways, commended for trying out some new things because they've been pretty good at it. I know who CrowdStrike is in terms of the company, and I know what they do. And again, I think it just goes to show just how well prepared you guys were for this kind of thing. And I commend you for doing it.
Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to commend how IT, emergency management, and other departments all worked together to solve it, and interacted with each other and got it taken care of. That, to me, that shows how good we work together and how well the county is all the departments of the county are. But thank you. Starting at 10:30 in the morning and working all through the night and getting it all done so that people who got here at 8 o'clock could use their computers was amazing. Thank you.
And thank you, members of the board. I do want to build on a point that Supervisor Reyes made. This also did kind of shine the light on the need and updating for our organization's continuous of operations plan, or COOPS. That did allow a lot of our county departments to continue services without IT, because that is one of the items that we always present and kind of highlight, that you need a COOP plan, because there may be the day where IT is not available, whether it's because of an incident similar to the one we experienced last week, a man-made disaster, Mother Nature, whatever it may be. Your department needs to be capable of running business with pen and paper if need be. That's, like I mentioned, my confidence in CrowdStrike is high. They have yet to fail us outside of their outage, but we will have follow-up meetings with them to determine what our next steps are with them, as far as kind of building our SLA plans with them and ensuring that this does not happen, as far as, I guess, as much as possible, right? Because not everything.
I do have a question about your it looks like it's made out to UpTV or UpTV or something like that. Is that a middle company, a middleman
Yes,
company?
they are a reseller. They are the seller for CrowdStrike products.
Is there a point where when you become like a customer that they have to go through a reseller? I mean, because I see where the confusion could have been in terms of the amount, because this is just for Falcon. This is just for one of the operating systems.
Yes, we had to go through a reseller, and Optiv is one of the resellers that we use.
So you have to go through a reseller?
Yes.
Okay, that's my point. It's a little bit odd when you have to go through resellers, but I understand that's the way that the business is set up. So if you wanted to, quote, punish, what's the name, CrowdStrike, you would have to go through a reseller and tell them, hey, look, you got to tell that guy that we have a problem with the way this thing was handled.
No, not from that aspect. They only handle the payment aspect of things. So Optiv is the bill collector, essentially. Any concerns that we have, we go directly to CrowdStrike. We have a dedicated account rep that we can always call, and they are available to us.
Good answer. I did realize just what the relationship was between UpTV. What were they doing in the middle of this whole thing? So they're just in charge of collecting.
Yes.
All right, but you have direct communications with these people.
Yes, with all of our IT vendors, we have direct communications with them, whether we go through a reseller or not, for that very reason, that we can hold them accountable if they do drop the ball for any of our products.
I know the knee-jerk reaction is to punish people because they create some disturbance, and it's fine. I can understand that, but in this particular case, I don't think that's warranted. I think that they acknowledged the fact that they were the cause. They did as much as they could, as quickly as they could, to fix it, and I think that needs to be taken into account. I understand where it can come from. I mean, the first reaction is to punish them, but I don't see in the technological world. I think a lot of this stuff it's going on all the time. There's updates that you get all the time, or updates from companies that we have contracts with, or Microsoft has contracts with, and they're going to be happening a lot. And every once in a while, one of them is going to go haywire like this.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, I want to move to authorize the chief.
Before we do that?
deputy Information, yeah,
Before we do that.
okay.
So in this realm, have you considered any other vendors, anybody else that would compete against this? And overall, Cliff, if you want to address this as well, value for the money, we're getting what we pay for?
Yes, we've considered 2 other enterprise-grade antivirus, actually next-gen antivirus providers. And as far as getting what we pay for, CrowdStrike tends to be the one that's on top. We do get a lot of resources from them for what we pay compared to their partners or comparable products. We have done analysis as well with other counties and other entities our size to make sure that we are also right-sized for these solutions. So we do take into account a lot of information. And that'll be coming back up when we do our review of if we're going to keep CrowdStrike or move on to a different product. So we always try to gather as much data as we can to make sure that we are basically providing the best product for the price that the county is paying.
Thank you. All right, Lynn.
Okay.
Cliff, you want to say something before we move on?
Go ahead, Cliff.
Cliff Summers, Chief Information Officer, Yuma County. To kind of piggyback off what Jesus said, yes, we are getting our money's worth from CrowdStrike. They've been a good partner for the years that we've had them. This is an issue that popped up that, as we can tell, it popped up across the nation, actually across the world. So they remediated rather quickly. They accepted, their problems, and we were able to get everything back up and running. So as far as confidence in them, yes.
Any questions for Cliff? Okay. Supervisor Pancrazzi?
Okay, I move to renew the CrowdStrike Falcon complete through Optiv Security Incorporated in the amount of $146,895.55 for 1 year, expiring August 6, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay.
Before we leave the item, I'd like to thank Ken for bringing it up. I mean,
Thank you, Ken.
We didn't follow, but Ken.
Ken's gone.
Yeah, I know.
It was nice to see
Ken
him.
left. You can thank him online. Write him a letter. Okay. We'd like to invite Virginia Garcia to come up to the dais. And we will recess Yuma County Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Yuma County Housing Board.
I'll give him the chairman seat.
You can sit in for, yeah. Hi, Virginia.
Oh, we don't have to carry any chairs up here.
I know,
All right, Housing Governing Board consent calendar. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent calendar for separate discussion and action. We have one item.
The chairman, unless somebody has an issue with this is pretty much something that we do every year. So I'll make a motion, go ahead and approve item number 1 on consent.
You have a motion?
Yes, I did. Oh, I did. You can second the motion, Virginia.
Lynn?
Virginia. Oh, Virginia?
Or Virginia, okay.
Okay.
We have a second from Virginia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Anybody against? Yeah, I get that all the time from you guys.
Do we have any?
Get the vice chairman to say that. Anybody against?
All right. When you all vote aye, it's hard to look for a
I
nay.
know.
So I apologize. All right. We will adjourn Yuma County Housing Board
Thank you, Virginia.
and reconvene as the Yuma County Board of Supervisors in regular session. We have discussion of the action items. The board will open each of the following items separately for discussion and action as appropriate. Item number 1, and we also have one person to speak to that. Maggie?
Good morning, Maggie.
And death by PowerPoint, right?
Well, it's a
No.
short PowerPoint.
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maggie Castro, Planning and Zoning Director. So this is a request that we received from a property owner in the vicinity of OX2 or under the OX2 noise zones to consider removal of the noise restrictions in the area of OX2. The property is in the Yuma Mesa planning area, and the intent is to initiate an amendment to both the Yuma County zoning ordinance and the official zoning map. So the property owner owns the properties outlined in red. They are under the 65 decibel noise zone. No, I'm sorry, the 70 to 74 decibel noise zone. Currently, no residential development is allowed in that in the noise zones. This is a more close-up image of the properties. Avenue 3E is on the west side, and County 18.5 Street is on the north side. Again, this is an aerial image showing the subject properties. So the 2019 ACUS identified the noise zones for ARCS2 within the Barry M. Goldwater range, which is on the east side of Avenue 4E. Like I said previously, the noise zones were on the west side of Avenue 4E. The county has not adopted the 2019 ACUS pending completion of the new joint land use study that is currently underway in cooperation or in conjunction with the city of Yuma. So staff is recommending that action is deferred until completion of the joint land use study.
Okay, thank you, Maggie.
And the gentleman who made the request is present.
Okay. Mr. Katz. Do you want to speak on item number 1?
George Padron is the person who made the request.
Okay, but we also have, okay, we'll hear from the person making the request.
Good morning. My name is George Padron. I live at 2624 West First Street, Yuma, Arizona. I am the property owner of the said subject property, but I don't come here just ask for myself. Unofficially, I'm requesting this for all the landowners in that area. If you can, I don't know,
Go back to the other one.
things too. As you can see, the existing noise zone that was adopted in right there. That encompasses quite a lot of area. That was adopted in 2009. No, not 2019. 2000, somewhere around there, 2000. But it was a study from 1979. So it took the powers to be from 1980 to 20 years to adopt a noise zone that they knew was already existing. And they only adopted it because they used that area for 2 to 3 weeks a year during WTI when the airplanes would go out there and they overload the Marine base, so they would go out there and practice landing out there at AUX2. Now you have a situation where the Marines have built another base inside, farther in, for the F-35s and all the airplanes, and they don't longer use AUX2 for airplanes, they use it for helicopters. So there is no noise. That noise band that you see there no longer exists. And they came out with that study in 2019, presented it to the board, and since there was nobody here to say, hey, we want this implemented, they said, oh, let's put it in the mill works and grind it a little bit. The problem is that this area here is tied in with Marine Base because it was one study. And the Marine Base is wanting more area from the city, so the city is saying, wait a minute, we want to do our own study. It's taken them since 2019, and they still haven't done the study to see what they want to do around the Marine Base. And so they're holding this area up. I don't want it to take 20 years. This is the area for development. You know, the foothills is full. We're already up to the Marine Base on both sides, or the bombing range on both sides of the foothills out there on the southeast corridor. We're eating up farmland, valuable farmland that gives jobs and feeds people. And we have land out here that grows alfalfa for the most part, and it's mostly desert, and it's really a good area for development. So it's not just for me, although it is affecting me because it restricts me from the size of the property I can have. It restricts me from what I can put on my property because of the noise restriction. So I'm just asking the board to ask staff to write up in their wisdom something that says that that noise zone no longer applies, because it no longer applies. It hasn't applied for many years, and it has been officially been informed of that in 2019 that no longer applies. So I imagine that study probably took what, 5-10 years. So they've known for a while that noise area hasn't been used. And I can attain as a landowner out there, I can tell you that it hasn't been, because when I'm out there, I don't ever see airplanes flying down County 19th to go land at the bombing range, because they really haven't been using that as an approach zone. So that's all I'm asking you. Have staff write up paperwork that says that the land under that area no longer affected by that noise zone. It's because it no longer exists, and the proof is in the study that the Marine Corps did. The study that the city is going to do will not affect this area. The Marine Corps, the Marines, or the ACUs that they did, the study that they did, says that area is no longer affected by their noise restrictions. So they're only concerned around MCAS, and that's city that's interested in that. So that's what I would ask you. I would ask you to, and I'm sure that there's some way, without saying, oh, we want to adopt this ACUS by the Marine, there's got to be a way to say the noise restrictions in this area no longer apply for future development. Allow the landowners to develop the properties accordingly. So,
thank you, George. Any questions for George?
Well, no more like a comment. I mean, obviously, what we're trying to do is proceed cautiously. If that is going to be the outcome, then I don't see why we need to make the change now and then have it come out that there's something in there that we need to consider. It sort of flies against common sense that if there is no real noise created by any of the airplanes, then they're going to come up with that. If there is one, they're going to come up with one, and then we'll get a chance to talk about it. And I'm sure that there's going to be opinions like yours where landowners are saying, look, this is impacting the way I want to do things. And there's going to be others that say, you see, people here come all the time here and say, we love the noise of freedom, and they hear the planes and everything else. And then we get the other side of the coin, which is people complaining about the noise and not being able to build more than this. This happens to, it's in my district, so I'm a little familiar with going through some of these areas there. That Avenue B corridor it's used a lot, and I don't see many planes going down there by myself. But I think the wise procedure to go through is, look, it's been like this for a long time, unwillingly so. It's not like they change it every so often. But this plan needs to come up that says it's not needed anymore, we'll remove it. If it's still within there, then I think the arguments are going to come, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we limiting the development and growth? I'm a pro-development guy, I've always been. But I'm also one of those guys that proceed cautiously through some of these processes. And I think that if we waited, if it hasn't been used for the last 10 years, then we're waiting a long time. Plans shouldn't be set in stone. But, you know, there's a balance between how people want to use their property and how the military deals with it. Now, encroachment's always been an issue. And the fact that you brought that this is encroachment happening and that we want to take care of this right now brings in the issue of what the Marine Corps is going to say about this. Because they're going to say, look, just the fact that people are building around it is going to be an encroachment issue. The noise that everybody considers to be the noise of freedom sometimes is bothersome, and sometimes it interferes with the use of that property, which I know for a fact that's changing over time. There didn't used to be so many people living out there. Now, that whole place is dotted with people living out there, which noise or no noise, they want to live out in the county. I tend to believe that the staff has a point, and what I want to do is want to make sure that the people that are doing the study realizes that this can't take 10 years, 5 years, 4 years. This is something that needs to be done pretty much within the next weeks or months at the latest.
Maggie, do you have an estimated time from the city for that study?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the kickoff for the study was in April, and it should take approximately 15 months to complete, 18 months to complete.
Okay. Thank you, Maggie.
Well, I think we got to put a time frame on it. Otherwise, it keep dragging on. People like Mr. Patron, You need an answer. You need a time frame. I mean, they can't wait 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. Even 2 years is a long time. I think we need to say that this. If the study does not give us an answer, we're going to come up with one, and we tend to lean on the property owner side. We do.
Can I say something else?
Mr. Chairman, also keep in mind that even though this area is currently under the noise zones, the majority of this area is designated as agricultural rural preservation.
Oh,
So even if the noise zones are removed, residential development will still be limited.
I know.
It would take a major amendment to change the area to a higher density
I think Mr.
development.
Padron is like a lot of homeowners over there. They see all the changes happen and they react to them a lot faster than government does. And those studies, that joint land use study, has been around for 30 years, 20-some years. And, you know, I wish it was a little more adaptable to the circumstances, because what happens is if they create a plan that is good for 25, 30 years, it's a long time. And right now, the fact is, land use moves a lot faster than that. And farmers who once time thought the farm, they wanted to have their farms protected, are now wanting to have their farms released. And so, and it's the change that I've seen happen over time. I understand Mr. Padron's desire, but I think that what happens is he's looking at this situation being around for a long time, and nobody does anything about it. So I get it. I get it. It's going to take 15 months, and it just started. So just say that within the next 18 months, we're going to look at this issue and make a decision, one way or another.
All right, we're going to open this item up to the public. Yes, go ahead.
One more thing?
Sure.
Well, you brought up that it still needs to be decided, but the Marine Corps has already decided. The U.S. government has already said we're not going to fly in Dogs 2 anymore by building another landing strip 2 miles farther in. So the future has already been set. They are not going to come back to Dogs 2. That has already been fixed. And to say that the study is going to fix something, the city study is only interested in the Marine base. That's all that study affects. That study will not affect this area out here, because the study itself says that noise zone no longer applies. It's in the language. The noise is no longer there. And if you're going to designate this area, what is it, agricultural?
No, it's already designated.
It already is.
Conservation?
Maggie,
You're having agricultural conservation to a desert, yet you are allowing massive development on the west side where it's really agriculture. It's the area that's really feeding people. You don't have any agricultural restrictions. You're letting developers develop it like crazy, but you got a desert out here that's really the best for development.
Hold on, Mr. Padron. You said a couple of things, and I see Maggie nodding her head, and don't necessarily want to get into a massive debate here, but it's been designated for quite some time, and would require a major amendment. So, Maggie, could you speak more to that?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the comprehensive plan was adopted in 2001 originally, and it's been designated as agricultural rural preservation since at least 2001. Additionally, the noise zones were added as a result of Senate Bill 1525 in 2001, which
State or federal?
Senate Bill 1525 in Arizona.
Okay.
Which made changes to state law concerning military installations and auxiliary installations as well. So the comprehensive plan and the Yuma County zoning ordinance were amended in 2005 or 2006 to address changes to state law concerning military installations.
Thank you, Maggie. From my understanding, while you're there, county government acts as an extension of state government. So oftentimes, like cities, we don't have the option to differentiate from what the state has mandated correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an opportunity to change that designation for us as a county? Or would we have to go back and address that bill?
The agricultural rural preservation designation, that would take a major amendment to the comprehensive
It takes
plan.
about a year. I think you can only do it once a year.
Yes.
Do we have any other items for consideration on a major amendment right now?
Right now, we have 3 major amendments that are being processed this year. So a major amendment to change this area to a different land use designation would have to wait until next year.
Which is when we expect to get that joint land use.
All right, we'll open up the call to the public. Mr. Katz, you asked to speak.
Yes, thank you. William Katz, Western Sands Land Inc. Excuse me, William Katz, Hall's General Contractor, LLC, in-house counsel. There was an interesting discussion that was just had. I'm here to request records and information as I have done before. If you look at the materials that are attached to your agenda for today's item, they're similar, if not a mirror image, of the materials that were attached roughly 3 weeks ago. One of the pieces of information or records that I'm seeking is the county now moving towards studying the economic impact of what the full implementation of the 2019 AQs would actually do, not only to Yuma County, but also the cities, as it relates to both economic growth and as it relates to the county's ability to collect revenue, given that these land use restrictions will impact both. I understand that some things take some time, but you have a strategic plan which was just adopted and went live online. And one of the action items within the strategic plan for Yuma County is comprehensive community planning and inclusive development. There are no action items and there are no plans currently attached to that strategic plan action item. It's the county's position that that will be revisited at some time in the next 5 to 10 years, and I'm paraphrasing, when the next comprehensive plan is reviewed for any revisions. And as you're aware, currently the county is in an affordable housing crisis, as is the entire state of Arizona. When we're looking also at some of the discussion that was just had, there was discussion about the military airport statutes under Title 28. Title 28 military airport statutes as acknowledged by the 2019 AQs, those state statutes are more restrictive, actually, than DOD and Department of Navy requirements as it relates to noise contours and APZs. It's within their very own documents. So the idea that growth is being limited and the ability to provide affordable housing is being limited is very important, obviously, to this commission, and it's a very important discussion. So the information that I'm seeking is what has been done to start to study the economic impact of any implementation of the 2019 AQs. It should also be pointed out that the 2019 AQs proposes new APZs to the east and the west and the north and the south. Historically, we've only had a northeast and the southwest APZ in clear zone. How much acreage actually is the military seeking with all those new APZs and all those new noise contours? As it relates also to the noise contours, there was a presentation before this board in 2019 that the 1977 Van Houten noise contours actually are more expansive than what's even necessary as it relates to the 2019 AQs. But as was demonstrated to you, as I believe in that presentation, to the city's presentation in 2019, is that even though the new AQs, as it relates to the Yuma area noise contours and the Somerton area noise contours, even though the 1997 is overbroad, there's overbreadth of the noise contours as they currently exist, that there isn't a military need for them to be so large.
I see the link between what you're saying and what Mr. Pacon wants, but I don't see how we can expand it this much. I mean, we're talking about noise zones, we're talking about Somerton, San Luis. You know, this is just a petition by a landowner for us to analyze the ability of taking down his or these areas.
Supervisor Reyes, the staff report which is attached to the agenda gives you 3 alternatives today. It gives you an alternative of adopting the 2019 AQs in full.
Hold on, Mr. Katz. Can we put those alternatives up on the board, please, Maggie?
I just took a screen video of the agenda on my phone. So as it currently exists, you have 3 alternatives.
For the sake of everybody who's here.
I'm sorry.
Or those who might be at home participating, so that they can see that.
Pardon me.
Mr. Chairman, they are on page 2 of your memorandum.
Are we able to put them up on the screen?
I don't have them on the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. All right. Mr. Katz, go ahead and continue.
And so that's why I'm discussing as it relates to all the APZs and all the clear zones, because what's before you again on your agenda is that allegedly you're attempting or potentially attempting to adopt the 2019 AQs in full, or you're attempting to adopt it partially as it relates only to, that's on the discussion and action.
Your only recommendation was to defer taking action. That's it. I didn't see 3 recommendations in here.
As it relates to the staff memo online attached to today's agenda, Supervisor Reyes, it's on there.
I mean, I see this.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Katz is correct. Those options are on listed on page 2 of the staff report. However, the staff and the Planning and Zoning Commission both recommended that action is deferred until completion of the joint land use study.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess while Ian, you look for that, and then we'll resume once you have that back on the board. We ready? Okay, let's reconvene. Maggie.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the recommendation that was made to the Planning and Zoning Commission was to defer taking action. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended defer taking action until completion of the joint land use study. What's on the screen right now are alternatives.
Could you read those? Can you read those for us? Okay.
Correct. One of them is to defer taking action on the 2019 ACUS in anticipation of the new joint land use plan being more compatible with development goals of Yuma County and the surrounding communities. However, delaying action on adoption of the 2019 ACUS or any part thereof will continue to limit the potential land development opportunities in the
So status
vicinity.
quo, it would delay any other development opportunities.
Correct.
Okay. Number 2.
Number 2, partial adoption of the 2019 ACUS. Take action to adopt only that portion of the 2019 ACUS that reduces the impacts to properties in the vicinity at ROCS 2 and leave the remaining portions of the county covered by the 1977 ACUS. This approach is not recommended by Marine Corps Station Yuma.
Do we have a representative from MCS here today?
They are not here, however, they did submit a memo. I believe it was sent as an attachment.
Okay.
And the third alternative is full adoption of the 2019 ACUS. It would benefit properties in the vicinity of OX 2, but have a negative impact on those properties south of Runway 35 between County 14th Street and County 15th Street. While this option is more acceptable to MCAS Yuma, it may be viewed by surrounding municipalities as a unilateral decision rather than a collaborative one.
And then the memo from MCAS, would you read that?
Yes. MCAS submitted an email to me dated July 17th at 11:34 a.m. Stating, it was from Antonio Martinez. I will not be able to attend the board supervisors meeting this upcoming Monday, and the below discussion is of interest to to MCAS. If asked or if you feel that this needs to be known, MCAS concurs with your recommendation to defer action until the new joint land use study is completed, especially since these subject parcels are located within the BMGR buffer zone.
All right, thank you, Maggie. Would you stand by very closely while we continue with Mr. Katz?
William Katz, in-house counsel, Hall's General Contractor, LLC. So what I was trying to say is these new, the new 2019 AQs actually determined that the 1977 Van Houten noise contours were too broad and too expansive and actually could be constricted or brought forward or brought in towards the center. But it's still MCAS's position, looking at the 2019 meeting and presentation that they gave, that they're still requesting the overly broad noise contours. Also in their 2019 presentation that they gave the board, they stated that there's a certain threshold that has to be met in order for new APZs and clear zones as it relates to training missions. And this would obviously implicate the east-west or the north-south new APZs and clear zones. In 2019, the training mission threshold hadn't been met as to any of those new APZs or any of those new noise contours. So, you know, really what I'm here today to do is collect information, is to request that information be produced. Part of the strategic plan is comprehensive and inclusive community planning. I understand it just went live. I've heard the statement that it's a living document. I know the board has the ability to direct staff to study certain things and pursue certain things. Currently, your staff is engaged in the joint land use plan process, as are members of the board. And really developing a strategy now and a concerted strategy in the sense that it's focused of what we're going to study as a community, how we're going to study it, and what actually is the military need is obviously very important. So I'm here requesting records and information, and maybe the new strategic plan is one of the ways to start pursuing that.
Thank you, Mr. Katz. Ian, would you please look into that?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So, any other comments from the public? Bring the item back to the board.
I move that we go with what planning and zoning, and we defer this until we have a.
I'll second the motion.
Huh?
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Defer it until we get all the city study done.
And the city's committed to, Maggie?
15 months.
15 months max?
The only thing I'd like to make is I'd like to make it to a certain time, point in time. I think people will need to know when it's sort of a situation is going to be dealt with, because I think we need to deal with it whether the city decides anything. We need to make a decision.
18 months?
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the city stated that the study will take approximately 15 months.
The approximately is what bothers me. Because if they said 15 months, I would deal with it. But if approximately could mean anything. And, you know, we know the wheels of government move slow, it's been proven. So.
Mr. Chairman, the study is funded by a study that the city of Yuma obtained. So that study also, I mean, that funding also has a specific time frame for the completion of the study.
Mr. Padron is fidgeting in the back. Can I ask you a question? Do you have something pending that do you have something pending? Because we wouldn't be able to change anything for a year, but that seems unsatisfactory.
I got a dam in front of me. I can't release the water because I'm restricted. If you remove the noise restrictions, then I'll still have to wait for you guys for a year to change the major amendment to allow anything other than industrial and agricultural in that area, because you still have those restrictions out there. And so once the major amendment is done, that's another year in the works, you know. So you're saying the city's going to come back 15 months from now, maybe with their plan, but their plan is only going to focus around the MCAS. They're not even care about OX2 because it doesn't affect them. And they're gonna come back and say whatever they say, and they say OX2 is okay, and then you go okay, let's make a change. So that's another year and a half, because you have to catch it at the right cycle for major amendments. And then once you do that, a year and a half goes by, And then you got rezoning. That takes 3 to 6 months to allow for that, right? So we're looking a year and a half, another year and a half, 3 years, possibly 4 years.
But I don't think we can get around. It's either one or the other. So
Well, I
even
think
if-
you can adopt the number 2 item, which is partial use, the partial adoption. The area that doesn't affect the study that's being done by the city. That's the thing. The
Your
city is.
analogy of a dam is what I'm concerned with. That opens a dam to a lot of people wanting the same thing. And not every farmer wants to develop their property.
Well, they don't have to.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, they don't have to, but the other people that want to can. I mean, are you going to decide who can and can't?
Yeah, that's
government. Yeah, but see,
That's our responsibility.
who's better to decide who develops their property, me or you? It's my property, not you. When you had property in San Luis, did you want the county coming down there and telling, hey, you can't develop that because whatever reason? No, property owner is the proper decider for development of their property. We have the right to develop our property for a best possible use. And because of your zoning restrictions, I am not able to best use my property.
Mr. Patron, I have a question. Are you planning on selling your water to CAP?
I don't have any irrigation.
There's no irrigation on your property?
There's no irrigation, there's wells. I have water rights underneath the ground, and I have mineral rights under the ground, but I don't have any irrigation rights.
Are you part of the, which irrigation district are you part of? None?
I'm not in an irrigation district. I'm outside the irrigation district. I have groundwater rights that I can put a well in, so that there's plenty of water down there for that. There's plenty of water development.
And it's in alfalfa right now?
It is not in alfalfa. It's dormant. It's sown light industrial, which was my only recourse when they did the 2001 adoption. Was my only recourse is it's like agriculture, which is not agriculture because I don't have any water irrigation, or I could do industrial. So I requested industrial, but that area is really not right for industrial, and I have not been able to develop that as industrial property. I rented it out to agricultural guys to store their stuff, but I really like to change it back to residential. And I'm still restricted 2 acres in that area. Because I'm within a mile of the bombing range that has 1 billion acres, but they need another mile around the border of it to restrict property owners of what to do with their land. That's another issue for another day.
So, thank you, Mr. Padron.
Okay.
Maggie, if he wanted to change his use, would you please describe the process for us?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, like I stated, the properties are designated as agricultural rural preservation. He would need to request an amendment to the comprehensive plan. Because the designation is agricultural rural preservation, it would take a major amendment.
Okay, can I pause you there? Mr. Padron, have you asked for that designation to be changed yet?
Can.
Because of the noise contour? That's right. Okay, go ahead, Maggie.
So once the major amendment is processed, the deadline to apply is June 15th of each year, and the board has to take action by prior to the end of the year. So normally major amendments are scheduled for the second meeting in November. If the major amendment is approved, he could apply to rezone those properties to, depending on what the land use designation he requested is, then he could request a zone change. Only after the major amendment is approved, if approved.
That sum total time frame would be a year. Well, you gotta wait till next June, right?
He has to wait until at least next year to apply.
Okay.
And then the major amendment process starts in June.
Okay. So are we looking at 15 months or more?
Mr. Chairman, it would be more because he would still have to apply for a rezoning of the properties.
From rural preservation.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries 2-1.
Now this leads me to the next question here, the public works question. This requires a roll call vote. Are we able to even conduct this meeting with four members?
Do we need a supermajority, or is the simple majority?
Or is it just a roll call? It's a petition to establish a county improvement district. I just want to know if we are able to even have a.
I believe the board acts, I'll defer to the attorney, but my opinion is you need 2 out of 3 for.
That would be just a roll call. It's not requiring a supermajority.
I think Rachel could probably tell us.
Rachel? Oh, we'll open it up if you want to.
Well, we'll go to item number 2. Accept the petition to establish a county improvement district for Southern Skies subdivision as signed by 100% of the current property owners pursuant to ARS 48-901 to provide for reconstruction, repair, and maintenance of the stormwater retention basin and that's a brand new word for me, appurtenances thereto, and other common improvement in accordance with ARS 48-905, declare the Southern Skies County Improvement District formed and authorize the chairman to sign the order of establishment of the district, accept the petition to incur expense, providing for repair and maintenance of district operations, and direct finance to establish a new fund number for future budgetary needs of the district. I will open this item up. Do we have any members of the public or staff? Staff first, then public.
Okay. Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Brianna Gonzalez, Yuma County Department of Public Works, Improvement District Specialist. Just give you a little bit more information about Southern Skies and the proposed improvement district. It's located east of Fortuna Road, south of 40th Street. There are 308 parcels, 4 retention basins planned for the subdivision. The first phase being Phase A, there will include 55 parcels along with 2 retention basins out of the 4 total that will be for the planned subdivision. So it'll be 12 phases. I'll open this to any questions you guys may have.
Any questions from the
That was
board?
my first question. Can we act on it? I guess the answer is yes.
Okay, does not
So
require
it only takes a roll
supermajority.
call. It doesn't take a supermajority.
Okay.
It says it's signed by 100% of the current property owners. 100% of my son.
Supervisor Reyes, a good question. So it's 100% owned by Jacobson Companies.
Oh, okay. So it's a district that is really created because the owner of the whole site is willing to go ahead and create this
Yes, because it is 100% owned by Jacobson Companies. They then proposed the improvement district for the maintenance of the stormwater retention basins.
I'm familiar with the normal process of doing these things, which is to subdivide it, to develop it, and then within that development, there's some requirements. And sometimes it's required that you have an improvement district for lighting, for whatever services that we can provide. And the county cannot provide sewer, we cannot provide water, we cannot provide certain services. So in this particular case, the property owner is just wanting to create an improvement district so that he can provide the services, but there's nobody there that lives there.
Not yet.
Correct, there's no one there yet. It's
Okay.
currently being developed.
All right. So we're creating an improvement district so that when it's developed, they would have an improvement district that will maintain these facilities. Okay.
I'll open up to the public, or do you have more question?
I just, what it does is it prevents them from having to have a homeowners association or any of that kind of stuff, maintain those basins. The improvement district would maintain the basins, and each person would be responsible for their own part.
Any questions or comment from the public? Okay, I will call for a roll call vote. Desiree?
Oh, you need to do a motion. isn't it?
Oh, that's right, sorry.
I move
Entertain a motion.
I move to approve.
A second.
All in favor? Roll call vote.
Supervisor Pancrazi?
Aye.
Supervisor Reyes?
Aye.
Vice Chairman Lyons?
Aye. Motion carries.
Great job.
Thank you. Item number 3, free library district discussion and possible action pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 11251-08. Welcome.
Hi.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Ashley Jones, the Library Director. So this just kind of partners with the association policy that was in the consent items. Because we are we're requesting to remove the $5 fee for San Pascual students. It does require us to set a public hearing date for those fines and fees to be approved. So it just goes into in conjunction with that circulation policy.
So, with all this discussion going on, I'll make a motion, we go ahead and authorize the staff to publish the proposed revisions to the library district fines and fees schedule and set August the 19th, the meeting of August the 19th at 9 a.m. as the date and time for a public hearing on the matter. That would be to accept public comment and take final action to adopt resolution number 2024-24, which will revise the fee schedule to supersede up to the fee schedules.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any opposed? Out of the 3 that said aye, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Katz, before or after legislative session, because then we will adjourn to executive session.
Okay.
Now?
All right. Thank you.
Since call to the public is still open.
William Katz, in-house counsel, Western Sands Land, Inc. On or about July 1st, 2024, I presented a call to the public. It was summarized in the minute entry that you just approved today on your agenda item. It was summarized as the following. Mr. William Katz, in-house counsel for Western Sands Land, Inc., spoke to the 2022 comprehensive plan referencing the housing element with a 2021 housing market assessment based on 2019 data. He suggested the board review the information and questioned why the county used a document based on 2019 data instead of a 2021 analysis of impediments to housing study. He asked for information to be produced on what was being done in unincorporated Yuma County with the ongoing housing crisis and what the procedure would be for the board to begin to evaluate the housing element within the county. This information hasn't been produced yet. I eventually was told that I need to fill out a public records request in order to get that. I object to that. That's not required. I've made an effective public records request here on the record before the clerk and before the board. I'd like that to be fulfilled. I think fulfillment of that records request is important for the entire community, but I'm looking at it more as a delay in producing records rather than a negative connotation to a non-production of records. Here's the thing. I've been here now for about a couple months asking questions for information records related to what the county in the unincorporated areas is doing as to the affordable housing crisis. I've presented information for your consideration that in 4.5 years, there have only been about 330 new lots added to the inventory here in unincorporated Yuma County since 2020. I've presented information that the housing element within the 2022 comprehensive plan is only a half page. I've presented information that there was other information beyond that half page that the county could have used, such as the 2021 analysis to impediments to fair housing. And I'm not really getting the information that I need to understand and study the issue. I understand that people are trying. I've received information on other things. I've reestablished a new contact point with the county to clarify the flow of information, and I'm hopeful. I'm not standing up here trying to be negative in any way, but one of the pieces of information that was given to me is that the county did not instruct its consultant lobbyist from the Dorn Group at all during the last legislative session with regard to housing at all at the legislature. There was no instruction given, and your lobbyist didn't take any positions. Is that a missed opportunity to further affordable housing in Yuma County? Moreover, what I learned is that the strategic plan, which was just posted, has an action item potentially for comprehensive and inclusive community planning, but there are no action items attached. The crisis is ongoing and it's real, very much so right now. I'm seeking the information to figure out what has been done, what is going to be done, and what is being planned. I understand that the strategic plan is a living document, it's forward-thinking, but there are folks in the county that can present information to assist. And it's important for the folks in the county to also receive the information that currently exists. So in the spirit of cooperation, what I was here and requested in July 1st of 2024 was very succinctly summarized. He asked for information to be produced on what was being done in unincorporated Yuma County with the ongoing housing crisis and what the procedure would be for the board to begin to evaluate the housing element within the county comprehensive plan. I just seek that information. I'm hopeful you'll provide it. It was actually instructed to be provided at the last meeting. Thank you.
Mr. McGahee?
Yeah, I'll look into that and we'll get on that. I apologize for any delay there might have been. I don't really have an answer beyond that.
All right, thank you very much. We'll hear a report from legislative issues.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development.
Good morning. No, I'm sorry, I was somewhere else. Good morning.
Good morning. Alejandro Figueroa, Economic Development and Intergovernmental Affairs Director. I'll be starting off the update with the state affairs. Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Scott Minder threw out a legal challenge against this quote-unquote Secure the Border Act, end quote, that sought to keep it off the ballot, writing in an 11-page order that the act complies with the Arizona Constitution's single subject rule. The ruling clears the way for the ballot measure to go before the voters in November.
Question, wasn't that appeal? I mean, I thought you could appeal that decision by the Superior Court to the Supreme Court or the appellate court.
Mr. Chairman, Supervisor Reyes, if it was, I don't have that information with me. I will look into it, but that's the latest I have. Moving on, the Legislative Council met and voted to adopt the ballot analysis describing the 11 ballot referrals from 2023 and 2024, as well as the 3 citizen initiatives that are making their way onto this year's general election ballot. The Legislative Council Committee's statutory role is to approve the ballot analysis that will make their way onto the publicity pamphlet released by the Secretary of State to Arizona voters. The committee is made up of senators and representatives from both the majority and minority party, and supported by legal staff who draft the ballot analysis as well as the bills we see each session. I also wanted to take this opportunity to remind the board that the CSA will be hosting its Legislative Policy Summit in October 7th through the 9th this year in Pinal County, most likely Tucson. And the legislative policy proposals from the counties are due by August the 5th. So if the Board of Supervisors has any items that they would like to propose or bring up to discussion at the summit, I would appreciate if you could give me any guidance before the 5th so that we can submit it in time. On the federal side, Senator Sinema's legislation, S-4677, providing funding for, yes, sir.
I digress.
Yep.
Going back to the last item for suggestions, would this be an opportunity for us to have a discussion around affordable housing with the rest of the counties giving direction to the state?
We can definitely bring that up to the CSA.
We're driven primarily by state statute, but if we can have a discussion and ask the legislature if they're going to direct any energy towards this, that would be good to know.
Will do.
In light of the fund sweeps.
Mm-hmm.
So Senator Sinema's legislation providing funding for Marine Corps Station and Yuma Proving Grounds cleared the Senate committee. The appropriations bill includes the following projects. Marine Corps Earth Station Yuma Water Treatment Plant will get $90 million, would get $90 million. UDP Transient Barracks Design would get $3.8 million. YPG Radar Operations and Maintenance Facility would get $6 million. And Special Operations Forces Military Fall Advanced Training Complex would get $62 million. Now, having cleared the markup in the Senate Appropriations Committee, the bill was placed on the Senate legislative calendar under general orders and heads to the Senate floor. Once a final bill has been negotiated between the chambers, it must then pass the full House and Senate and be signed by the President. Another legislative federal item Arizona Senator, Senior Senator Kirsten Sinema and Republican Senator John Cornyn from Texas introduced the Border Weather Resiliency Act. This legislation requires Customs and Border Protection to create a strategy to protect personnel and agency infrastructure from extreme weather, such as record-breaking heat waves, and enhancing morale, agency effectiveness, and saving taxpayer dollars by bolstering infrastructure resilience. Extreme weather impacts agency technology, infrastructure, and other assets. In 2023, the U.S. experienced a record 28 separate weather disasters, each resulting in at least $1 billion in damages. The Government Accountability Office reported that during the prior 5 years, the federal government spent billions of dollars to repair federal property damage resulting from natural disasters. And I would be remiss if I don't mention this, but as you probably know, President Biden announced yesterday that he would end his re-election campaign and has endorsed Vice President Harris to become the Democratic nominee for the upcoming election for President of the United States. President Biden has said he will finish his term and will address the nation this week. It remains unclear whether Harris will become the nominee or how the Democratic Party will select a candidate. Nevertheless, the Democratic Convention Rules Committee will determine the rules for the party's nomination will meet again on Wednesday afternoon this week.
Alejandro, can you give me a little more, this Border Weather Resiliency Act, what is it actually, I mean, other than the platitudes of which it refers to, what is it actually going to do?
Protection for the agents that are outside in the heat, processing people, right, yeah. But that's what they're.
Shades, are we talking about shade? Are we talking about?
Misters or?
Misters, what are we talking about? I mean, CBA officers and U.S. Border Patrol agents spend more time outside. We know that, and it's getting very hot. So what is it that this bill, that this act is supposed to do?
I will, Mr. Chairman.
Get some details.
Yeah, I don't have the details on as far as what it will actually do on the field, but I'll ask the senator's office for more information.
More information.
On the international front, Senator Mark Kelly completed a visit to Mexico earlier this month with a bipartisan group of senators and representatives, including Representative Greg Stanton, to deepen Arizona-Mexico ties and discuss cooperation on regional migration, ports of entry, security, and trade. Kelly and the delegation met with the outgoing President López Obrador, President-elect Claudia Sheinbaum, who will be sworn in as Mexico's first female president on October 1st, Secretary of Foreign Affairs Alicia Bárcena, the Minister of Finance and Public Credit Ramirez de la O, and other Mexican dignitaries. The legislators also attended a reception with Mexican business leaders hosted by U.S. Ambassador to Mexico, Ken Salazar. I'd also like to inform the Board of Supervisors that today at 10 a.m., the state government of Sonora assumed full control of public safety operations in San Luis Rio Colorado. Local law enforcement agents will be required to go through training at the state's capital. In the meantime, the state agents will take over the local police department offices and operations. And that would conclude my report to the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, and the travel, on top of that, the travel recommendation of, what is it, how would you state it?
The State Department's recommendation to not, or
to limit travel.
To limit travel.
In the
it's been in place
Sonora and San Luis. In light of the ongoing challenges. Okay, thank you very much, Alejandro. Any questions?
The shooting, yeah.
And the shootings, yeah. All right. Thank you. We will adjourn into executive session, and we will.
If you like, Mr. Chair, you could do the calendar of events.
Let's do that after.
After, very good.
Yeah, let's adjourn into executive session, and we're going to stay in this room so we could please clear it.
I got it.
And there is
The regular, well, Eric, let me know when you're ready.
We're good to go.
Okay, we'll resume regular session of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to authorize and approve the chairman or vice chair as necessary to sign the participation form allowing Yuma County to opt in to the proposed settlement with Kroger Company in the matter of National Prescription Opiate Litigation. MDL 2804, case number 117, MD 2804.
Second that.
A description of the case number.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Events calendar. Lynn, we'll start with you.
Okay, I attended Arizona at Work Workforce Development Meeting. I attended the NACO conference. I met with some constituents. I went to the networking meeting that's hosted monthly by WACOG, and I attended the YMPO evaluation subcommittee meeting.
Met with the mayor to discuss a couple of the boards that we sit on, talked to the governor's office regarding water and the water sweeps, and I'll be sitting down with them next month as far as long-term water augmentation for the state of Arizona. Had several calls with constituents regarding two of the matters on our agenda today and upcoming agendas, and met with MCAS regarding the implementation of water security, but not necessarily the physical water. It's in light of the CloudStrike hack or deficiency, and also had a discussion from the state. And I apologize, I didn't bring it with it. They'll be reaching out to the county regarding our water infrastructure and what we do to secure our water, along with all the cities and all of the districts that provide water. So that will be forthcoming. And then we will discuss that again next month. Mr. Reyes.
Look, thanks to Zoom, we can have a lot of meetings that you don't have to be present on, but I had a meeting with the Western Arizona Council of Governments Executive Board. We had a meeting with Elevate Southwest, a meeting with the board, and I had a bunch of events that I've attended. I think too numerous to mention, because right now, if I mention them, they're going to be taken in as campaign advertisement. But I had a breakfast with ladies, cancer survivors. I did a lot of reach out. It's been a busy 2 weeks, but it's been a very productive 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you very much. Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attended the Welton Town Council meeting regarding the IGA for court services that was approved earlier this morning. Attended the Arizona City County Management Association conference. Also, Deputy County Administrator Josh Scott and Facilities Management Director Tiffany Anderson came along. The quarterly managers lunch. That's a time when the town, city, and county managers and their deputies get together to share war stories and ideas and keep things moving together and working together to move forward. Began the annual department tours that I do every year to visit with all staff, with the first stop being public defender, and attended the Yuma Test Center change of command ceremony at YPG. That's it. Thank you.
Was that hot? Oof.
It was inside, so it was comfortable.
All right. Any other information from the board at this time? If not, we will adjourn. Thank you.